criticize in a democratic society, people will definitely, praise and criticize it. That's reflective of the diversity of opinions. But if you were to just unduly criticize, like some of the reports you see when you wake up in the morning, the president will be doing something as tremendous as waiving tuition for public universities, for instance, and then somebody else in his daily will be talking about the president is out in the field and not paying attention to what's happening in the office. Can you imagine? But yeah, we're not here to talk about those level of criticism now. As a matter of fact, today marks 1 year, and a lot has been said already, ranging from what my boss said, the Minister of Information, Len Eugene Nangbe, told the Minister of Youth and Sports, to Public Works, and what you heard from Defense. So I'd like to reflect on what happened a year ago today. How was it like a year ago? And I woke up that morning. I was a journalist then, as a matter of fact.
Still a journalist. Once a journalist.
Yeah.
You still a journalist.
Well, I was okay. Yeah, I agree. but I was a practicing journalist then. Yeah. Anyway, how could I have missed that? By the way, yeah, I was a practicing journalist then, and so I woke up very early in the morning. But I should state that I was with AllAfrica.com, which is an internationally recognized media entity. But I also was a talk show host for Capital FM. But on that day, I was broadcasting live for Kwese TV. That's a TV that is broadcast online across Africa. They had their setup here to just they said it was a historical event. A lot of people in Africa were concerned about the fact that we have this iconic soccer figure who will be taking over as president of his country. And so they said it was so important to them, they had to be present for that. And I was one of those who was asked to anchor, along with another female. And, so we had to wake up like as early as 4 o'clock in the morning. And I remember passing by your studio. But by the time I reached here by 5 a.m., this place was already packed, jam-packed with people. People were just singing and dancing. Ordinary people who were just ecstatic about the presidency of President George Bernard Weah. I remember being so emotional that day because for a long time I hadn't seen the level of emotions that people were expressing. Waking up as early as 3 a.m. in the morning just to be in queue, to witness this historic inauguration of a president. This was one of the first times in a long time that we have had the level of peaceful transfer, but it also reflects the first time since universal suffrage was attained in 1951 that we had a whole transition of to a new set of youthful leaders. Basically the level of people you see in government, like all young people, myself included, but also they're not just young, but they come from underprivileged background. This president is demonstrating that regardless of where you come from, who your parents were, or what your name is, or which tribe you belong to, as long as you have the talent and qualification to serve, you will serve your government. And that's what is reflected across the government. You see people from Dole community, you see people from Clara Town, from Nuku Town, from underprivileged communities in and across Monrovia. And so when people talk about the government, I was listening to one of the political leaders yesterday, and he was talking about the law of utilitarianism. And basically what that says is doing the greater good for the greatest majority of the people. And you talk about President Weah, some of the times you wonder when the people say we don't have a plan, or this president doesn't have the level of sophistication and blah, blah, blah. This president is calculated. He's apt at what he does. He's been, like he said the last time in the community, he's been in the thick and things of things before. He's been a performer. He's demonstrated before thousands of people. He knows exactly what to do. When put to tax, and that's exactly what he's beginning to demonstrate. He's targeting development to underprivileged communities, the Dole community, the Logan Town community, the West Point area, the Nuku Town community. Yesterday he was meeting with thousands of people who were homeless in Fendel. When not many people thought that it was even necessary to meet them. As a matter of fact, these people have been crying for 3 years. Their homes were demolished. I remember hosting John Colley once on my show, and he was so passionate about the agonizing condition that those people were going through. And the president, having heard about their plight, at least for the first time when he met with journalists, but sometime in December, he sought to meet them, and he heard their condition. And you know how they called him? I mean, they referred to him as the Moses of their time. That's what the people said. You know, some of the times it just takes small decisions, small actions, to show to ordinary people that they mean a lot to you. And that's what he's beginning to demonstrate. I mean, I was on the field that day, and we were carrying the program live, and whenever the president came up, some of the times he would just make a little move as just waving his hand, maybe just take a handkerchief to wipe his face, and then the crowd would go gay, and everybody would just yell and celebrate him. That's because this man, from time immemorial, has used his personal resources to take care of ordinary people, regardless of what condition or where they came from. I remember the last time when he went at the University of Liberia and declared it free. By the way, we should talk about that, because the last time I was here, I was saying,
the last time you
some of the times people tend to,
we're talking about something to come.
Yeah, people tend to sort of minimize the fact that the president has made public university education free across the country. That is significant. That should be talked about for a whole year. This has never happened before in the country history. It has never happened. And he didn't waver. He didn't ponder. He didn't say, well, do we have, can we afford it and what have you? Because ordinary people that is, were feeling the brunt, of tuition payment and what have you. And he knew that this will be an action that will benefit poor families, poor communities, people in underprivileged neighborhoods. He made a decision without overthinking it, and he said university education for public schools across Liberia is going to be free. And I think we should talk about that. We should hail that, because this has been the means, in the past. This has been one of the means by which our people have been kept subjugated. People from up country. I don't like to talk the Congo native thing, but that has been the reality in the past. Sure. Not a lot of people had the opportunity to go to places like the University of Liberia, not to talk of Carterton University or whatever, especially with certain name tag. And this president just say, well, I mean, regardless of where you come from, you can go to the University of Liberia free of charge. And then you wonder when people want to minimize that or criticize that action of the president.
Okay, Deputy Minister Fofana, let me announce before asking the question that later on we have the Deputy Education Minister Latin Datang. He will be here in studio. We'll be discussing issues relating to education, the enforcement permit for all schools across the country, and the impact and importance of the tuition classes for all 12th graders, getting them prepared for the WACs, and that is also very important.
Yep.
Apart from interpreting positively or interpreting the works of the government, the presidency, from the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism perspective, over the 1 year period from the end of culture and tourism, what has been your own involvement?
Well, we've done a lot. I mean, since the taking over of the new Minister of Culture, by the way, she's reached out to different, the different organizations as far as culture is concerned. Trying to revive some of these organizations that have been dormant for some time. But part of her work is to also take care of, the musical union, and that aspect of things, is ongoing. I think there should be an elections. There should be election very soon. But also, I'd like to tell you that we revive the historic Providence Island in the first year, and that was under the stewardship of ultimately our boss, Len Eugene Nambwe, but specifically those in the sector, Princess Tokalon and Lens Bagoyon. Those are two ministers for tourism in the sector. So those are some of the things, within the first year we've done. And people don't want, I mean, every ministry can highlight different things that they've done within the span of just a year. But by the way, one of of the things we've been confronted with, obviously, and we've talked about that on various programs, and we're beginning to adjust, is the fact that, like every government ministry, we're beginning to readjust to the new mode of budgeting and all of those stuff. Because, like I said on one of your previous programs, this government, doesn't just waste resources. A lot has been saved for public sector investment projects, and so as a result, some of the times the kind of expenditure that you had in the previous government, that went to things as regular. I wanted to say unnecessary, but I'm sort of choosing my words. Yeah. But these are goods and services. Basically cars, crash cars, and fuel, and all of those different stuff. We're not having that level of regularity, in their coming now. Not because the government doesn't want to put them at our disposal, but because money has been better spent now on the 400 kilometers of roads that you heard the public works minister talk about just a while ago. So we're beginning to adjust to that reality. But another thing we're beginning to adjust to at the Ministry of Information is the new wave. The new way that people are beginning to use social media. It would seem as if there's been no time in our country's history where social media has been so active, in either applauding or denigrating the government as it is being used now, and so is the age of communication. And so we're beginning to adjust to that fact, and that's where when you hear people talk about, the government is doing this, the government is doing that, just because you read social media, isn't a fact. That doesn't make it a reality. You can still lie repeatedly from time immemorial. It doesn't change to a truth. Some of the times when we post on social media, some of the things government do, when you hear people talk about, but where was $16 billion? I mean, just because you say $16 billion is missing, and some other people make outlandish allegation about where and who took the money, doesn't make it a fact. The president has commissioned an investigation. That is, by the way, he went out of his way, ceding some of our sovereign authorities to the extent of giving it to foreign institutions and governments, the Americans, because he said that would have satisfied people in the public and members of the opposition. He also called on the other members of the international community, including the UN, the IMF, and what have you, just because he wanted to satisfy everybody and make sure that the process, seemed transparent to everybody. But still, it doesn't seem that suffices, Yeah, but so you think they don't want an investigation of the 16 billion, that's where you know that they don't want it. What they want is to see something that does a reputational damage to our president.
You've been organizing regularly on Thursday, every weekly press briefing. Tell us your relationship in general terms with the media. How is it?
What I would think our relationship generally with the media is okay. We have, like you said, organized a regular press conference where journalists can come and ask about what is obtaining, in the government. But also, I just wanted to reflect that the president is also very, very committed to press freedom. As a matter of fact, the last meeting, he's held 2 general meetings with journalists, since the year, big meetings. I mean, I'm not talking about the individual meetings he has some of the times, but yeah, the 2 big meetings he's had with journalists, he's made it abundantly clear that no journalist is going to go to jail for being a journalist. If you do your journalistic work, on account of that, you're not going to go to jail. So some of the times when I hear people talk about attacks against the media, then I wonder, what kind of attacks? I mean, you call a person's attempt to seek redress when they feel, injured through the court system, you call that an attack? How else does a person seek redress? If you write something libelous or say something that impugns somebody's character, that's what the law requires. Even in the United States of America, I mean, the president took people to court for writing something libelous. So if a minister says, well, I mean, I'm injured and I want to take you to court, and then everybody says, oh, that's an attack against the media. I mean, whatever you write doesn't mean that it's true. You can write against people in a way, a manner that you feel is befitting. But I also want to point out that there's been no attack on journalists during the first year of President Weah's administration. Absolutely none. I mean, relatively, if you compare it to previous years, let's talk about when the National Chronicles, had their entire paper. We had the PSU coming in pickup trucks, going to the National Chronicles headquarters. That's what you call an attack. I remember when Festus Peku wrote about Obiang, and his visit to Liberia, or the president's visit there or something, and the kind of shady manner in which he was operating, and he went into hiding because he was being sought after. That's what you call an attack. When journalists were being sued and media institutions shut down, and I'm not talking about as far back as the 80s, I'm talking about just in our recent past. Those are the attacks. But you talk about, if you tell a person, say, the person is corrupt, the person say, well, I'm taking you to court, then you say that attack? Is that an attack? I mean, that's been unfair. This president, without any prodding, has said, I'm going to decriminalize a law that's been on the book for more than 30 or some more years. Since the 70s, we've had the criminal libel laws on the books, which in effect meant that if you say something untoward against the presidency, you could have gone to jail. Where the president said he doesn't want it on the book. That law, that recommendation now has passed the House of Representatives. Okay. It's now gone to the Senate. The president is urging the Senate at least to pass it during this session of the 54th legislature.
Well, Minister, we'd like to say thank you for coming, because we want to quickly run to the Deputy Press Secretary before we join our next guest. So we appreciate the time you spent here this morning with us on the program, and also aided us in contacting some of the officials of government. Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
No problem.
All right, so let's take this short break now as we speak with the Deputy Press Secretary, Smith Toby.
It's Young John, the wicked producer.
In KZW, no. I don't get too many girls, I swear to you. I promise you, I will not lie to you. But if they tell you, say I'm a lover, boy, that you, I will not lie to you. I used to do, baby. So hold on, my hold on. Tell me who not make mistakes before, yeah.
Okay, many thanks for rejoining us. Like we said, this Tuesday morning edition, 1 year into this government is really jam-packed. We now have Deputy Press Secretary on the line, Smith Toby. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Smith. Too bad we lost Smith. Hope we can rejoin him to get some information as well, reflecting on 1 year in office of this administration. You're listening to the Super Morning Show. Let's hope we can rejoin Smith Toby on the line. And several other issues, several situations, developments took place during this particular year, and we're reflecting from government line ministries and agencies. Let's see if we can rejoin Smith. Smith, good morning.
Good morning, and happy to be again on State Radio. Let me say a pleasant good morning.
Many thanks for rejoining us and also making it your duty to always speak to us and provide information concerning activities surrounding the presidency. Give us a brief picture for talking about yesterday's event. The president met with victims of the fender demolition exercise. How was it?
Well, I think it went very well from the way the organizers expected it to turn out. His Excellency President George Manuel Weah yesterday, as you rightly said, visited the land dispute victims at Fender, and that came after Mr. John Cody of the LMDR was advocating on behalf of the victims of that land, talked to the president and sought his intervention, and the president thought to visit the disputed site. It was a wonderful experience sitting there and hearing the stories as to how the previous administration took took on the exercise that displayed more than 4,000 plus family-head homes that got demolished. People died in the process out of frustration, and it was a very, very heart-moving occasion on yesterday. And the president has promised to meet with the committee from the Fender land dispute as to trying to find a way to dialogue on his administration to find some very good solution to that situation that, of course, still lingered on the minds of those victims from Fender. You know, that land is being in dispute with the University of Liberia Fender campus, and people who claim to have built their property along the land there. So that's been a very, very troubling situation in the last administration. But this administration thought that the best way to move forward as an administration is to go there and listen to the plight of the people, which of course the president did on yesterday. And the people of that community were very appreciative to see His Excellency President George Weah pay them a visit and hearing their cries.
And so the president also told them, in as much as they will continue the dialogue of mentor, he appreciated them for choosing that path, but at the same time warned them to not make some unrealistic requests or demands as they go about this particular exercise, which I think was very key. What did they say following that particular statement by the president?
I think the statement from the president was being greeted with smiles and, of course, an appreciation as well. You know, people build their structures. Property values vary. So some people build 2-story, 3-story buildings. Some people had hospital there. Some people had schools there. And so if the government is to dialogue or sit with the victims of those demolished property, for whatever reason, if the government will anticipate maybe relocating them or trying to compensate them, they ought to be reasonable as well, because whatever the government intends to do from the level of the presidency or as a government in all, the victims will have to be very reasonable so that they and the government can come at a very appreciated point, so that the government can be willing to help them. They can be appreciated of what the government will give them at the end of the day. So I think the president's point was, even though we are interested in bringing smiles to you, but you ought to be very reasonable as we go to the table to dialogue as to our way of helping you wipe away your tears and put some smiles on your faces again and make you to get that human feeling again. So those who were in the hall, you could see them clapping for the president. They were very appreciative of the president, even making that comment that we can dialogue, but we all have to be very reasonable as we go to the discussion.
Okay, finally, because of time, Smith, the president, tell us about his activity on today, 1 year in office so far. What are some of the things that perhaps he will be doing? Give us a rundown.
Well, currently as I speak from the home of the president this morning. He's upbeat. He's been praising God this morning. He's woke up with a smile on his face. Currently he's on his treadmill. He's doing his normal routine, morning exercise. All you see from the face of the president is wearing a big smile, and I'm sure he's giving God just all of the praises and thanking him for taking this administration that some Liberians thought were never going to reach this far in 1 year in terms of what they've done, in terms of what they achieved in 1 year. I've been hearing all of the government ministers and people who you've managed to talk to this morning talk about the achievement of this government in 1 year. His Excellency the President feels very, very proud. He feels very upbeat. I think he's set up a very beautiful team, and all I know the President is thinking about this morning is to commend his team for working along with him for this 1 year. Thanking the Liberian people for even standing with this government for 1 year. With all of the criticism that came in 1 year, it also helped to strengthen the government resolve to meet up with some of those challenges. And you remember the President has said in time past, and he's continued to say that every time he's out speaking to the Liberian people, that his government inherited a very tough system, a system that was very difficult, but the government have managed to settle down. They're putting their feet to the ground. The president is understanding the issue. He's discussing that issue. He's getting out there. This morning, the president looks very happy. And I'm sure that at the end of the day today, there will be programs highlighting the 1 year. It's not just about the celebration. There will be reflection, and I'm sure he's been reflecting as to the day he took over as president of this country, and as of the day he's reached 1 year under this administration, with all of the help from international partners, the donors out there, the government officials who've done extremely well in making sure this government pro-poor agenda has been picking up and is working, is now being seen out there. This president of this country is about ready to turn another year. So as we move into the second year, I'm sure there will be new agenda, there will be new approach. What we experienced in the first year will be the improve upon. Those things that were difficult to come online, I'm sure in the second year of this administration, there will be new approach. But the president is upbeat. He's up this morning, Danny. I tell you, the president looks very, 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 very impressed. He's smiling. He looks very happy. As the president of this country, he's been hearing all the government ministers speak and tell people about the things they've done in 1 year. And he's not taking the credit as the president and the man who's done this. He's giving up to all Liberians who contributed, even those who criticized the administration. I'm sure they did it in good faith. For those who are doing it in whatever faith they thought were going to bring this government down, their criticism also helped to strengthen the government resolve. And today we are proud as a government celebrating 1 year, and the president today will go for the prayer service at Domino Christian Fellowship. Government ministers, friends of this government will go there to thank God for even bringing us 1 year and taking us to another year that we're about to turn in, and giving this president more wisdom, giving more ideas so the Liberian people can benefit from his vision of building this country. So today, not much in terms of the president itinerary outside. I know there will be a prayer service today, and of course, after that prayer service, there will be some little dinner for accomplishing 1 year, and there will be brainstorming section. People will talk about the government. We expect to hear a lot more, but we just want to say thank God for giving us 1 year, and we look forward to another year that this government is bound to work and work seriously very well for the Liberian people.
Well, thank you so much, Deputy Press Secretary in person of Smith Toby, and it's always a good thing, very good indeed, to wake up and see your boss smiling, very happy, and that can actually translate. And I can see for sure, transparent-wise, the Deputy Education Minister is also happy. One way or the other, they also contributed to what has happened here, 1 year success. Deputy Education Minister, he's been in the sector for a very long time, I can say that for sure. Welcome, sir, Mr. Datang, to the Super Money Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, quickly to education, which is very, very key, and the president has over and again stressed the need for providing quality education to the Liberian people. For 1 year, give us a little overview, firstly, from the end of the Ministry of Education, 1 year running.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Before I do that, let me first say I bring you greetings from the Ministry of Education and from my boss, Professor Dian Susone, who has led the team for the first year. Just to piggyback on what Smith said, let me just say a few things before we proceed. 1 year ago, many people didn't believe that this president would be able to accomplish this much this early. Let me say this, after working with this president for 1 year and knowing him for some time, President Weah is a Renaissance president, a transformative president, a practical president. And sometimes you have leaders where you find one of these qualities in. It's very rare that you find a leader that you have all of these combined. And when you combine Renaissance, transformation, practicalism, you have what we call a dynamic leader. And through that dynamism, you've seen it filter down. And the same thing has happened in education. We'll go through a host of things, and as I go through those things, I'll highlight some of the significance of why those things are so essential to our country today. Again, I'm proud to be serving the country, and I'm proud that the president gave me an opportunity to serve our people, because sometimes you can have all the talent in the world. You never have the opportunity to actually serve unless you are given an opportunity. So I can speak for Professor Soni, myself, and the entire team when we say we thank President Weah for giving us a chance any opportunity to serve our people and to change the educational system around once and for all.
So let's look at some of your achievements. Before going to that, the president,
yes,
I think you were also very pleased about that, taking the burdens from the head of some less fortunate parents by paying the tuition or wax fees for 12th graders. When you received that information, was it a surprise?
I wasn't surprised because I know the man. I know the man. He's people-centered, and the people means more to him than any infrastructure, any building, any road. The Liberian people is his priority. Look, when you look at it from a holistic standpoint of view, the president has committed $12 million in the next 6 years to pay WAEC fees. That's just one aspect of it. But then what he's also done is allow parents and others to now use that money that in the past probably we have used to pay WAEC fees to do other things, either do business or put it in something else. So you now have money to apply to different things. So if you have more than one child, you can use that money now to focus on other children, knowing that this burden has been taken off your head. So there's an economic aspect to that in helping to boost the economy, but it's also a humanitarian, practical aspect to it. When you see a president saying, let's take that burden from parents, let's pay for those students, and tell the students, all I need from you is to study hard and pass. He just didn't stop there. He also told those students that if you study hard and pass, I'm going to send the top students overseas every year to go and advance yourself. It was demonstrated this year. I think everybody saw the first group of kids who actually dosed the WAEC. Right now, right now, they are in Morocco. They are studying. They are not just, it's not just a scholarship. The government of Liberia is giving them allowance for the next 4 years. The government of Liberia has paid for their housing because when they got there, the dormitories were filled. So the government of Liberia actually rented apartments for them to stay in. All of the costs covered by government. So the president has said, look, I'm not just going to pay your fees and look at, turn my back. I'm going to pay your fees, and if you do well, I'm going to reward you by sending you overseas so you can go and build capacity, come back and help this country. I don't know how to say that in words, but that's nothing short of a president who believes in human capacity building.
Now, you know, and that also moved up to the University of Liberia. But let's see what's on the plate, because I see a very long list there.
Let's be going. Most of what you're asking is on our list.
Yeah, the University of Liberia. If paying the WAEC fees for students for the next 6 years wasn't enough, the president went on to say public universities free. What does that mean? Does that mean from the perspective of the Ministry of Education?
Look, I was sitting there when that pronouncement was made, when we went to the University of Liberia. Look, I can't tell you how much emotions that flow through me, because I understand the essence, and maybe a lot of Liberians don't really understand it right now, but 10 years from now it will make more sense. Liberia's best resource is our people. If we do not build capacity, if we do not educate more lawyers, more doctors, more engineers, more nurses, more teachers, we will continue to rely on what we call expats. What the president have done is to say, I'm removing all barriers. If a young person in Liberia actually wants to go to college, there is no barrier anymore. The only thing can prevent you from going to college now is yourself. Whereas in the past, people would say, oh, I ain't got money, I'm broke. There are so many excuses. You don't have those excuses anymore, because a president have decided that, look, for whatever it takes, I'm going to pay for you to go to college. Since President Weah made that pronouncement, we've seen many countries now trying to adapt that. Sierra Leone, Uganda, other countries, even in the US, there are many states now that are looking at free college for citizens. So again, Liberia is a first in some aspect, but it's very, very important, because I believe knowing, and education is not a tangible thing where you will see it, but some of what we are doing now, 10 years from now, you start seeing the benefits, and that's what's most important. But that move, President Weah made a move that will build capacity for this republic for generations and generations to come. But every journey begins with a first step, and a major step taken by this president was to make university. That's probably one of the most significant things that he did in his first year, and people don't understand the magnitude. We're talking about close to 50,000 young people, but if you take private schools from there. You're talking about maybe around 25 to 30,000 young people that now don't have the headache of trying to find money to go to college and can actually get a college education in this country. Again, it demonstrates where the man mind is in terms of making the people his first priority.
I would like to take it back to the 12th graders. So free tutorial for 12th graders across the country, getting them fully prepared for the wax.
Once again, if we say, look, the president could have easily come and said, let's pay the wax fees, and then the rest is up to you. But he said, no, let's take a step further. We're going to pay your fees, and then we are going to put a program in place, a program that has brilliantly been set up, led by Professor Soni, to say, look, in the short term, it's a short-term solution. We want the WAS program to last for 3 years. And because the current Liberian educational system is struggling, we believe a short-term intervention is very necessary whilst we build the system. So 3 years from now, we will not need a tutorial anymore. 3 years from now, we should have built the system to where it has been strengthened enough so that the children go through normally and be able to take the exam. But in the short term, what is our focus? Our focus is we increase performance. Because believe it or not, Liberia as a country, all of the intangibles and tangibles and the unseen things that we are doing behind the scene, a lot of people are not aware of. Our whole country judges our educational system on one exam. Sad to say, but that's the reality. Our entire country judges our educational system on this one test.
As soon as the result comes up.
When the result comes up, if it's bad, then nothing we've done made sense. So we believe it's important, not just because of the schools, but through this process, we can actually prepare our young people for life after high school. That is why every Saturday this program has been implemented. We are seeing good results, and we are going to have a mock exam at the end of February.
Is it across the country?
Across the country. We have 130 centers. We have over 1,000 teachers that go to class every Saturday and are actually teaching these children. At the end of February, we're actually going to have a mock exam. A mock exam that will inform us what the performance will look like, and we believe will be almost a mirror image of what the exams will be. But it's not just the content. Some of our kids walk in the classroom has never taken a test before, so even the answer sheet and those kinds of intimidating things can scare them. This is preparing them to be comfortable test takers, understand what kind of environment you'll be in, knowing that you'll be on attention, but getting used to it now. So there are several benefits from doing this tutorial, and we are hopeful that by the time they write their final exam, many of our young people will pass with flying colors.
At the Ministry of Education, let's look at your own enforcement plan for school fees. Talking about school, the enforcement of monitoring, evaluation, all of that. And tell us more about this.
That was one of the most significant things we accomplished in our first year. Look, when we entered the Ministry of Education, I think if you listen to Professor Soni's first press conference, he said that what he believed was the biggest challenge, and I can also attest and confirm that, was that the monitoring of the Liberian schools broke down. Somewhere along the line it broke down, which once you have M&E broken down, it affects everything. Nobody knows if a teacher is going to class, nobody knows if the right materials is being taught. So that became priority number one for the minister and his team. So we did several things to improve that. One of those things we did was open a national call center, that we have a call center number 1416. And somebody will say, what is the importance of a call center? The call center now allows citizens to participate in the monitoring process. Right now we average about 25 to 50 calls a day, and during peak times we average up to 100 calls a day. So say
during the same period as
in a month. And what we've seen increase in terms of attendance in school, teachers going to school. So we've seen a massive improvement. And you remember before we took over, and I'm sure every Liberian knew about this so-called Super Friday. That has almost vanished because of these moves and steps we've taken. There's no such thing as Super Friday. One of the things we're doing now on Friday, there are debate competitions, there are spelling bee competitions. We've made Friday a more active day in the year. So that has become history. And the one or two areas that is happening, we are making sure we are aggressively following it. But for the most, there are 90 to 95% of such thing called Super Friday is no more in the Liberian education system.
This is great oversight in terms of how moving forward. Shortly, we'll take calls too from those listening to participate. But as we move forward and looking at your oversight, I remember there was a time where we were talking about reshuffling district education officers, county education officers, so as to not get too familiar with a certain area. Then you sometimes leads to compromise realistically.
Yes.
So has that exercise started?
Yes.
Yes. And how has the redistribution affected the progress?
The exercise started. It went beautifully, even though again it was new for a lot of people.
Sure.
But now people are adjusting. So the whole idea is no county education officer or district education officer can serve in one county for more than 2 years. So the first redistribution took place. We changed people around. The current CEO for Lofa County was CEO for Bon County. He's now CEO of Lofa County. The current CEO that was in Riverses has also been shifted to another county. So what we did is the CEO for Mount Gibby now is Montserrat. So
what is the reason for that, sir?
Because if you have a person in the past, CEOs were staying 5 years, 6 years, 7 years in an area. Number one, they get comfortable. Number two, they start to build alliances, and we wanted to ensure, and
that is important to note.
Very important. We want to take politics out of education. You go into a place, you perform very well, you take your talent to another county, you help it. It doesn't matter if you are from that county or you're not from that county. If you are a quality education person, you should be able to transfer your talent around the country and actually help to improve wherever you are sent. So it's not a matter of the person saying, I must be here before I can perform. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. So that's why that is going on.
It's working well.
It's actually right and working excellent. If at the end of the first year we recognize that you are not pulling your weight, we either take you from there and put you somewhere else. But if we see you are doing well, you have a chance to serve in a second year. But after 2 years, we start to transfer you to another county, so you can also take your skills there and help.
So this issue of supplementary teachers or people who've been teaching in the classroom for a very long time, they yet to get on regular payroll. What is the ministry doing about this?
Thank you so much. And that's one of the biggest accomplishments again. Look, when we took over the system, we had about 3,700 supplementary teachers. As we speak today, based on all the ongoing efforts that we are making, that number has been cut down to about maybe 2,000. And we believe by July of this year, that number will be 0. Just last night, so many people were calling us. Even me, myself, I received a lot of calls, people thanking us. Since this president took office to date, he has put 2,000 teachers on payroll. 2,000 on regular payroll. People that was on supplementary payroll. And for the listeners who don't understand the difference, supplementary means you are making something, but it doesn't equate to your qualification. But government just giving you something small. 2,000 people have moved from that category now into the regular category where, and don't get me wrong, there are still more people, as I said, that wants to get on board. But even if you talk to the supplementary teachers, the National Teacher Association, they themselves will tell you, and one of the things again that we've managed to build is a cordial relationship with all stakeholders. That's why if you compare our first year to the past, maybe 0 or no demonstration. Yes, people will talk here and there, but in the past, you remember every time you are hearing demonstration, teachers in the street. When last have you heard it? Because the ministry have opened its doors. I think Prof. Soni is one of the most open ministers that you can ever be. In fact, his door is literally open. I'm not saying it figuratively. I'm saying literally, you can walk to the ministry and see him. So because of that, when the teachers have a problem now, they come in and we dialogue. So the demonstrations and those things have stopped. And the teachers can tell you, if you call the president of the National Teacher Associations today, she will tell you, look, the ministry is really working hard to put my teachers on payroll. We go to meetings together. We try to work together in solving the problems. She was there this gone week. We met with the IA, the Internal Audit Agency. We are working together. So it's not we telling them. Yeah. They are also part of the process now, and I can tell you it has been a big help. And a lot of supplementary teachers. People were calling me yesterday celebrating from Nimba, from different counties. We had a lot of them calling yesterday celebrating that they are now on the payroll. And again, thanks to the leadership of this president that we are able to do that, find the resources. And one of the ways we were able to do that is by clearing the payroll. You guys heard about the whole ghost names thing. We were able to take over 1,000 people off the payroll. The ministry working in collaboration with IAA. And because we did that, we were able to create spaces where we can take actual people and put them on payroll that were actually in the classrooms and doing the job. That process is still ongoing. The cleanup process is still ongoing. We believe we can do that. Another thing that we're working on now with the Ministry of Finance and NASCOB is we have about 1,700 eligible pensioners. So about 1,700 teachers have now reached retirement age. We are working with the Ministry of Finance, and which again has been very great. Minister Samuel Tuer has been very great. The minister calls him the Chancellor Exchequer because he has the money there. But he's been very supportive. And what we are trying to do now is to retire these people. So we had a meeting recently with the civil service and NASCOB. If we can retire these people honorably, it creates another 1,700 space that we can put more supplementary teachers on payroll. By July of 2019, we truly believe that the thing called supplementary will be a thing of the past.
Finally, Daniel, before we take calls and so that the public can participate, the D2S school.
Oh my God. Look, sorry that according to you, but it's emotional.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you knew the circumstances with D12. D12 was a failing institution, but it was also becoming an endangered community. President, we have visited that place and immediately said that D12 had to be saved. If you go to D12 today and you see the type of work that was done, guided by this president himself. I mean, the first day, the president went there with Professor Soni and Minister Tuer and the whole delegation. And that's the thing. Most times when the president go to an area and see a problem, it's not one of the problems where he say, go sit down on the table and take another 3 years. He wants it done right away. Go to D12 today. They have saved the school. The barricade has been built there, have saved the school. The water can no longer destroy the institution. The community is now safe. Just because of that intervention, you've saved a school and a community. And thousands of people will benefit now because of the intervention that was done. I don't know if you went to D12, but it was dilapidable. It was in the, and the scary thing was the environmental degradation, which is a natural disaster, was killing the environment. It was endangering the people in the community. And that intervention have saved. That's why I was emotional when you started the conversation, because I know what D12 looked like, and we all know what D12 looks like today, and all because this president felt that he couldn't wait. He wanted to solve that problem and solve it now. And that's why I used the 3 words. I said he's renaissance, he's transformative, but he's practical. And those 3 things, when you combine them, again, you have a dynamic president. So thank you.
All right, for those of you following the conversation, you can participate on 0880-514-096, 0880-514-096, or 0776-089713, 0776-089713. Those are the numbers to join in and follow the conversation. Good morning. Let's hear from the first caller.
Good morning.
What is your name?
My name is Wama A. Fofana. I called you from Chegotan Western.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, I must say thank you to the Honorable Minister in studio. All what you say are all truth, because we see it happening around, especially for the scholarship division in Liberia, the local scholarship. We noticed that it is under this government that students was recruited, and those that merit the scholarship benefited from the scholarship, and they are benefiting from the scholarship. Even me, now I'm a beneficiary of the local scholarship. I'm talking about the local university scholarships.
Okay.
But there's one thing I would like the Honorable Minister to at least talk about, and that is especially for students that are in the Stars Marist Polytechnic. Right now, the school saying that the government have an area to pay, and actually when we look at it, there's a contract between the government and the school. So now if the government don't pay the money, the school should stop embarrassing students. Because when the school have American students will try to get a grade sheet, and they cannot get a grade sheet, and they cannot even be present for the next semester, and they're saying that students should pay back the money they owe before they can go back to school. So I want the Honorable Minister to please address that for us.
All right, thank you. He will address that. Let's take the next call. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
What is your name?
I'm Alpha M. Kala. I see join from Quebec.
Yeah, but go ahead now.
Yeah, I want to appreciate the minister in studio.
Sir, the feedback is too much. Let's move to the next person. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning to the EABC family, and good morning to the Labren people. My name is Abraham Political Moderate Setu. I'm the PRO for the Movement to Protect University and Legacy calling for the committee. Let me appreciate you get a lot and the entire thing for the Ministry of Education. I think the appointment about the entire thing for the Ministry of Education was in the right direction to transform our education sector. And I appeal to you, and please, in your entire effort, please inform your team that the one for the constitution of the board to be taught in school, let be effective and featured in school. And the laboratory board also be taught in school, because most of the students control abuse freedom of speech. They only listen to freedom of speech, but they don't know the implication of the freedom of speech. And we appeal to you people to see that you can work tirelessly. Because President George Manuel, we are one person who believes in peace and will continue to maintain a peace-only leadership. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Jiple Yesua, go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Daniel. How are you?
Fine, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me say good morning to Julius and good morning to the minister. And let me say thanks to the Ministry of Education family. And congratulate the humanitarian president, Dr. George Weah, for your efforts towards the educational sector. But again, Daniel, there's just two recommendations to the minister. I can remember when we were coming up in school, somehow in the 70s and the 80s, there's an issue of uniformity with the instructors. All of the public teachers were having a uniform to go to school so that we can know that they are public teachers. Two, again, Daniel, the next recommendation had to do with providing motorcycles for the DEO so that they can be able to be efficient and effective in the supervisional process. Thank you very much.
So you want public teachers to wear uniform now, huh?
Yeah, they need to wear uniform,
Thank you, Jible. Let's hear from the next person on the line. Let's go back to the line 0776089713. 0776089713. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
What is your name?
Yeah, I'm calling from Kanonville, Chocolate City.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to appreciate the minister in studio there for the many effort that they are making to transform the education sector. But there's a crucial issue that we need to address in education. I have to deal with the education. And we have been engaging the ministry for
you said it has to do with what?
With education that is undermining the culture. In the absence of the compulsory art education, the culture is going to be undermined. So we are making this recommendation that we are prepared to do the subject syllabus from elementary to high school level. And until the ministry can address the issue of art education, we're still going to find it difficult when it comes to transforming Liberia. Yeah, so if the minister is interested in my number, you can take my number and you can call me and
call it.
Make a better planning.
Call it.
My number is 0776 513 487. And I'm the art education coordinator for the Union of Liberian Artists. We discuss the issue of art education as it relates to the development in Liberia.
And call your name again.
I'm Sompon
Dagwe. Okay, the minister got it. The minister got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. My brother, stop listening to the radio. You want to take all that time to listen? We don't have that time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, good morning, my brother. My name is Jeremiah Terry, and I join you from district number 13. Good morning to your studio care.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning. I have 3 points to make, and I hope your studio care will better provide me information on it and the other Liberian people. Firstly, I listened to your studio care, I think sometime last year on the station or maybe on Express 22 FM. First of all, you mentioned that within the 1 year time, and today we know that today marks the government 1 year in power. You mentioned that in 1 year time that you're going to construct the library, more especially most of the country and the library. And then today might be 1 year, we haven't heard anything about it. And then secondly, he spoke of the issue of situation which the president announced in public yesterday. I received information recently from the women communicator saying that since the president or since they gave them $1 million as a funding for institution, since then the funding gave them that they received anything yet. And I also received information from grandfather communicator that the situation is far off due to that student is trying to inform on going to college student girls. I don't know how they arrange a project, but honestly that situation is high up there, so I don't know how they arrange it. And then last night I want to know, we also spoke on the school and
hello? Hello? Hello, sir. Hello?
Yeah,
can you say the last part again?
Yeah, I said the last one is school feeding program. The last one I mentioned about the school feeding program, that is school will be fair. But how far the program have done? Because I saw school the last time in school, I didn't receive any funding like the big fee. So I don't know how far I went that program. I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That'll do it for the calls. Lots of questions coming through. It shows, you know, the level of interest.
Yes. Let me start with the last one. For all public universities in our country, tuition is free. Now, if the school have other fees like ID card, T-shirt, and those different fees, that's different.
And you should pay.
You should pay them.
But there's this concern, sorry for interruption, that because of the free aspect, they are increasing it. So what's the ministry doing?
Now, if that is the case, I can truthfully tell you that the Commission on Higher Education is looking into it. Okay. Technically, the Ministry of Education, we handle from kindergarten to 12th grade. Sure. The Commission on Higher Education, which have a dynamic leader right now in Madam Mawani Dix, is looking into those things. If the allegations are true, we are going to tackle it right away. So I can't speak of the validity right now. I will leave it with the Director General. I'm sure she'll make an appearance soon. But I can just say in general, because the Ministry of Education relationship with higher education is the Minister of Education is the chairman of the Board of Higher Education. So we get a lot of collaborations between the two. I would say tuitions are free. The Director General is going to look into this spike in fees, and if that's the case, we'll put them under control. To the caller, school feeding is actively going on right now. We can tell you our current school feeding program is benefiting over 300,000 Liberian children as we speak today. We are partnering with a lot of international organizations, Mary's Meal, UNICEF, and others to provide food. But school feeding is for public schools. And for now, we are not serving all public schools, but we are serving a good amount of public schools. And if you want the list of schools that are being served, just come to the Ministry of Education, go to the school feeding department, and you can get a list of all the schools, the kind of food that is being served by the Ministry of our partners. So about 300,000 Liberian children are currently benefiting
across the country.
Across the country.